Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with K80Y TV. I want to say that we are at Umpqua Bank, and we just want to do a shout out to all the wonderful servant leaders here at Umpqua Bank. So thank you for allowing us to be a guest in your office. I also want to mention before I start my collaboration with the famous George Miller that we are actually covering sports in high school, some actually college as well. So check that out on k80ytv.net. And with that, let me get started with, again, one of my favorite segments, George Miller. So some things again happened at the session last night in Oxnard.
Right, it's no accident we do these sessions on Wednesday because it's the day after the city council meeting. And most city government issues ultimately come to fruition at the city council after working their way through committees and citizens groups and stuff like that to get there. Well, we previously reported this problem with the accrued employee leave scandal. What's happened is lots of people worked extra time when they should have been on vacation and built up money in different funds, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it's against city policies. That part is wrong. And there's approximately a $3 million plus liability the city has accrued through that, which they don't want to pay all at once, obviously. And since it's in violation of numerous city rules, but they've done it on a de facto basis, they've conducted negotiations with the major bargaining units for the city in the last couple of months since the problem was announced. And they have reached an agreement on what to do. To explain it, this meeting would be too long, but basically what they've done is they've set limits on how much time could be accrued. They've set up mechanisms for people to either take some of the money out in deferred compensation or take it in leave time between now and certain deadlines, which vary by bargaining unit. If you're really interested, go online to the city council website and watch the video and download the report that shows the settlement in more detail. But they have come to a resolution, complete resolution of everything, which I'm happy to see.
Resolution's good, huh?
Resolution's good, right? But there's a rather involved report that was done by the consultants, Rennie, who actually negotiated this thing. For all practical purposes, an outside consulting firm right now is the de facto human resources department for the city, since Michelle Tellez has left and no replacement's been recruited yet. So they're actually running HR.
How many consultants outsourced does the city of Oxnard do? Is it a very small percentage, or is it?
It's a lot higher right now for a couple of reasons. Number one, because there's been a lot of turnover because of the reorganization, and two is that city manager Greg Nyhoff has leaned heavily upon consultants that he's known from past assignments that he has high trust in to take an objective look at the city, make some recommendations, work with the city staff, and then make changes. This enabled him to move a lot faster than he could otherwise if he came in and did it, the old-fashioned way.
Understood. Thank you for that.
Just between you and me, talking
and our audience.
Right. I've talked to several key city employees who are very, very upset about never knowing what their job is and whether they're going to be here tomorrow. And it's created a lot of unease, but it's almost inevitable when you do a reorganization of this magnitude. Now, I've been through a lot in industry.
But does that also entail, almost like the grade coming from East Ventura County to West Ventura County is almost like a Mason-Dixon line. And when you come here, it's really understanding the history of this city to be able to get things done, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but all cities have their history and their dirty little secrets, and we're no exception here. I've lived all over the country, and this is really no better or worse than other places I've lived in, really. But we're trying to make it better right now.
Yeah, we were trying to get
I applaud that effort. I really do applaud that effort.
That was a good clarification.
Right.
Thank you for
Now,
that.
along that line, Mayor Flynn and also City Manager Greg Nyhoff have promised a major realignment of the budget using principles of priority-based planning, which means that the budget and the city efforts ought to be based on what the city residents actually want to do. And this is more than just lip service. On March 5th, we're having a major community meeting, which I encourage everyone to come to if they possibly can. I'd like to see hundreds of people there. And basically the meeting will cover city priorities and also trying to attempt to build better trust with certain constituencies who feel alienated right now from the city government. And in particular, I talk about people are upset about some of the police actions and things like that, the Limon case and stuff like that. And it's created a lot of discontent, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So the city is encouraging everyone to come and speak out and listen to and hear what different people think the priorities are in the city, and the raw material of that meeting will be used to help set up the budget for the next 2 years. So it's a very important meeting. It'll be March 5th, 5 to 9 p.m. At the Performing Arts Center, which is 800 Hobson Way. It'll be in the Ox Salon, Oxnard, which seems appropriate. Right?
It's a beautiful venue. So.
Right. And while we're on the subject of meetings, there's also going to be a Women's Veterans Summit. We have quite a few women veterans in Oxnard. This will be a Southern California-wide event. It'll be on Saturday, March 28th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. in honor of Women's Military History Week. I don't know the exact location yet. We'll be in the South Bay, probably in Hawthorne. If you are interested, please call 310-680-3814. Ask for Julia, who is one of the organizers.
Well, we had one of the women veterans, Tippy,
Yes,
interviewed here, so
right.
I'm sure she'll be there.
I hope she will be there.
Quite an impressive individual, and I'm sure as there'll be some other impressive, empowered women who have contributed to this country.
I would agree. That's a lot of people don't realize there are a lot of women's veterans, including women's combat veterans, believe it or not. Air Force, Navy, and Army. So they're all around here. And, we have a major base here right next to Oxnard, so we have something like 40 to 50,000 veterans living in Oxnard right now, which is much higher percentage than the country in general. It's out of 800,000 residents plus. Yeah. Okay, last time we talked about water supplies, and I might have mentioned wells, but last night an approval of $1.13 million to build a high-tech well near the golf course was approved. And basically what we'll be doing, we'll be replacing the use of potable water with recycled water at the golf course. So in addition to the well, which will be used for fresh water, they also approved the beginning of design for a pipeline to pipe recycled water for use.
And there's only one golf course in Oxnard, are you allowed to say that?
Well, there are actually 2 golf courses
All right.
on that one site, and that's a city-owned golf course. That's another whole.
It's one golf course with 36 holes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So it's
non-golfer, oh my gosh.
2 courses in one organization.
All right.
That's city-owned, and we have a $6.9 million accrued deficit on losses on that, which is another whole issue we've discussed before.
Well, a different segment on that.
Right. Next thing is a little commercial. Citizens Journal, I'm the publisher of Citizens Journal, by the way, exceeded 5,000 Facebook subscribers
Congratulations.
2 nights ago.
I mean, that's significant.
It really is. That's 1,000 more than the state Republican Party has.
Oh my gosh, stack ranking. You should find out who else you
We're growing that shrinking.
What a way to measure yourself by.
No, I saw that.
I don't dare measure against the Democrats, though.
I saw that on your website, so I didn't get a chance to congratulate you on that.
So we actually have several sources of traffic. Facebook is one of our largest, but we also have web subscribers, we have email subscribers, and we have people that come in through search engines such as Google. So we have roughly 15,000 readers right now, as near as we can tell, which makes us the 3rd or 4th largest publication in Ventura County after only 1 year in business, and a total investment of $3,000. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's you're not throwing a lot of paper out there, and when somebody says, well, how many subscribers do you have? You can say, well, 15,000. And here they are.
Well, yeah, there's 15,000 readers.
Readers.
It's not the same thing as log subscribers who are paying.
Exactly.
And we recognize that.
I don't want to go too long on that one.
Right, okay. All right, next, last night we were supposed to have the appointment of commissioners for the new Cultural Arts Commission and the Measure O Oversight Committee. For whatever reason, Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, who ran the meeting, decided to defer that. So the people who were sitting in the audience had to leave, and we'll do that sometime in the future. So we don't know who the appointees are yet, because they were going to be elected last night. So sorry about that. Right. In addition, last night we discussed making some improvements to Oxnard Beach Park, which is absolutely a beautiful park on Harbor Boulevard, right next to the Embassy Suites.
Yes.
They want to redo the parking lots, and they want to put in a toll machine. And there was a little bit of debate about that.
A little bit, huh?
A little bit of debate. Well, they're already charging admission.
All right.
So this is basically just a way to automate it. But some talk came up that electronic devices don't do well in a saline, sandy environment at all. and some talks came up about how to get people to leave. The park is so popular that they literally cannot get people to leave at night unless they call the cops.
You know,
So,
that's not a real good option.
right, it's not really a good option at all. Also last night, the city council approved the deployment of $113,000 in asset forfeiture money to buy things for the city.
That's a big term.
Yeah, asset forfeiture is a highly highly controversial procedure created by law years ago, which basically allows police to stop someone and if they have money on them that the police think might be the result of a crime, it allows the police to confiscate those funds without due process. That's so controversial, in fact, that Attorney General Holder put some holds on the use of that procedure. And there's a lot of bipartisan agreement on that, because it's a procedure which is designed as a crime-fighting tool, particularly organized crime and drugs, but has been terribly abused. There are horror stories of people having $50,000 confiscated out of their car that they were bringing to give to their daughter or something like that. And it's almost impossible to get it back. You have to hire a lawyer and spend a lot of money. So anyhow, $113,000 that way found its way into the city coffers last night. And of that, $86,500 just had two different lines that said equipment. So your trusty reporter said, well, what equipment? And we were told for operational security reasons that cannot all be revealed.
Using some pretty intense terms here, but keep on going.
Right. But yeah, the bottom line is some of it is for various types of Wi-Fi equipment and networking, and the rest of it they could not or would not tell us what it is. And 25,000 more is for various training. So that's where your tax dollars are going, or confiscated dollars. We also found out that $28,000 was appropriated to replace light globes. They wouldn't tell us exactly where, but Special Districts 39, El Sueno and Promesea, and 46 Daly Ranch. And they were asked why it had to be replaced. Well, because they were shot out. I said bang, bang.
Are you gonna make them bulletproof now?
Well, Mr.
Sounds
Henderson,
funny, but that's
the
what
Parks Bureau said there is no light you can buy that's bulletproof, so you just have to sweat it out and replace it.
I'm not gonna commentate on that one.
Right, really. Now we had another thing. I find a lot of things happen at meetings which are not on the agenda, and people bring them up themselves. And one thing I've reported on numerous times that none of the other media I've reported on regularly is the protests over the police use of force in various cases. Now, unfortunately, the two most notorious ones didn't have to happen. There's the Alfonso Limon killing, where the poor guy walked into a gunfight initiated by gangs and got killed. And the second was also very unfortunate. It was a young fellow strung out on drugs, and his friends called for help, for an ambulance. The cops showed up too, and were a little overzealous in restraining him, and ended up suffocating him, and he died. So the bottom line is that there's an organization called Colectiva Todopoda al Pueblo, which is a protest organization, and I think they've probably gone a little bit over the top in their protests. About 2 years ago, they held a major protest in La Colonia, and found it necessary to block the streets, including Pacific Coast Highway. And the police did not intervene at all. They simply watched and videotaped. And when they were done, rather than arrest anyone, they gave 5 traffic summonses to one of the leaders, Francisco Romero. And Francisco's been fighting in court for over a year. So Armando Vasquez, who's a very well-known community leader, has Cafe On A, for example, and runs art shows and music and helps the people and all that, has taken the side of Todopoda, and he wrote a blistering letter, which we published in Citizens Journal. And rather than believing me, I suggest you go to Citizens Journal or Todopoda sites, read the letter yourself, and decide whether you agree. In the Citizens Journal, we believe that you should make the decision, not the news organization. That being said, I was one of the speakers last night, and I basically disagreed with Mr. Vasquez respectfully, because I do not feel that the police are an evil organization, as he pointed out. I do not feel that they intimidated or harassed the protesters at all. In fact, they were totally hands-off. I saw the videos, and the summonses amounted to a slap on the wrist, because Mr. Romero was the leader and should know better than to block roads and create hazardous situations, even though it does make a point and it does get ink in the press, including ours. He also protested the police presence in various types of social welfare groups, such as PAL and all that, claiming that it was an attempt to brainwash the children. And I'm sorry, I just can't agree with that. I personally know police who do that on their own time with their own money. So I don't think that was a valid criticism, and I urge him to pull together. Hopefully they'll come to the meeting on March 5th, and that will be one of the topics of this
Sounds like you were very gracious and very factual and respectful in your communication.
Wow, you know, Mr. Vasquez is a community leader. He's a community resource, but we can't always agree.
Agree to disagree.
Right. So on that note, that's all I have for this week.
No, God, that was a great summary. I found myself mesmerized and realized I have guests. I'm sorry if I didn't look at you. But again, George Miller just giving us a great highlight of what took place last night at the city of Oxnard. And we look forward to you watching and submitting your questions. But again, this is Peter Godinez, KADY TV, with Good Morning Oxnard. Until next time.